Hello and welcome to the third edition of the OrthoGraph webinar series, Building Survey Goes Mobile. My name is Zoltán Tóth, I work for OrthoGraph, and over there we have our special guest today, Paul Jordan from the US. Say hi to the audience, Paul.
Hello, audience.
Paul, can you tell me a couple of words about what you are doing and how you come into the picture? So how come you are doing this show with me?
Well, I've been working with you for a few months now on the software, giving you feedback on what's working, and I've also been testing it and using it on projects that I work on out in the field.
And how do you like it so far?
I love it. It's
Great.
as I'll say in my slideshow, I searched high and low for something that would do this, and this is actually doing what I needed to do in my business.
Now, Paul, actually, my aim of having you in this show here is this because this is a recurring question from our customers, our prospective clients, is that they are willing to learn more about what we are doing, and they want to know what this application is about, but they are worried about the learning curve, and they want to know how they could switch from one tool, what they use, pen and paper in this case, to another thing what they don't really know and understand yet, digital methods. So what we are going to do at this session is I'm going to show what the application is. I'm going to talk about its aims, how it works, and how it could be helping what you are doing. And then you are going to take over and tell us your story, how you use the application, how you did sketching before you started using the app, and what are the things that you learned. Maybe your insights and feedbacks would help our customers to understand better how the transition from non-digital to digital methods work. After that part, we are going to talk about the lessons, what you learned, and also we are going to look at the user questions, what the users are going to ask. One thing to know about this webinar, that this is going to be recorded, so this is going to be used for training and other purposes from our part. Next to this bar on the right, you can see, all the attendees can see a chat bar where they can ask questions during the whole duration of the show. At the end, you and me, Paul, are going to dedicate a couple of minutes to talk about these questions, so we can look at what the customers had in mind, and hopefully we are going to answer these things. But now I'm going to start with the first part of the session. I'm going to show you the application and what it does, and with a special attention on the new things what we did. So the new developments what we have in the office. So let's get to it. So some of you already know that OrthoGraph is a building survey application. What that means is that you can use a tablet and a laser distance meter like this one to capture building data. Now, the reason you would use a digital tool as opposed to pen and paper is because this device, this software tells you if you made any measurement mistakes. I mean, Paul, has it ever happened to you that you made a measurement mistake and you had to go back to the scene to make another measurement?
Oh, I'm very good at my measurements, but yeah, pretty much a lot of times I have to go back and make measurements again.
That happens. The app basically tells you what are the things what you have and you haven't done. So you cannot eliminate user errors, but you can limit them as best as you can. So you could work with this tool, you could work faster and more accurately on the scene, so you could spend your time what you spared with other more creative things, CAD work for instance. But instead of me just telling you how this thing works, let me show you what I mean by this application making your work easier and faster. Now, one thing to know about OrthoGraph is that as opposed to drawing the whole building and then working your way from the outside to the inside, you are going to work room by room. What this means is that you are going to sketch the rooms that you're working in separately, just like that. Now you see that when you do a drawing on the screen of the room where you're actually standing, everything is going to be nice 90-degree angles and straight lines, but that's usually not the case when you are doing a site survey. So buildings are usually crooked and irregular. So in order to make this drawing a little bit up to scale and more accurate, you have to measure this. Now, I'm going to measure things in the metric system. We do support the imperial, but it's just easier to wrap my head around the metric system, so that's what I'm going to use now. Let's do the first measurement on our drawing, just like this. You see that you can now punch in the numbers. Let's say that this is actually a 5-meter long wall, and you see that the whole drawing now proportionately is scaled. If I do additional measurements, you see that the walls are moved around individually one by one. Now, here's the thing about OrthoGraph. You don't have to measure everything, but you can measure even diagonals to make sure that you have the accurate angles. It's not compulsory, it's not necessary to do it, but you can if you want. So if you do a diagonal just like this, then you will have an accurate drawing. And also you get a check mark if you do one measurement into the same points. That means that that's a fully measured point. It's triangulated. You have nothing to do with this point any further. You can keep on measuring this, this drawing, but instead of doing it by hand, let me show you how it works with a laser. And this is one of the things what we just finished developing. I'll show you what the latest things are. So the way you can measure into this drawing is that you can just use a laser distance meter like this, like a Disto D2 device, and just connect to it via Bluetooth, just like that. So let's connect to it. And then I'm going to measure, let's say, this part over here. So all I have to do, I just trigger the measurement panel, and I'm going to now push the laser against the wall behind me, shine the laser to the other side of my room, just push the button on it, and the number is there. You see that the number what I measured, 3.238, is on the screen. Now, here's something new what we did with the application a couple of weeks ago. We realized that when you are doing a diagonal measurement, you have to do a lot of things at the same time. You have to fold this thing out, you have to hold the laser against an angle, and you have to keep an eye on the laser dot and pushing the button at the same time. We realized that when you push the button, sometimes you move the laser dot, and that might compromise your measurement. So we decided that you would be able to trigger the measurement from the tablet screen. And the way that works, I'm going to hold it in my hand so you would see it better, so that I'm not touching the measurement button, is that you actually highlight the valve that you want to measure just like this. And instead of pushing the button here, you can just push this button there. And now the whole screen turns red, you just tap on the screen and the number gets to the system right away. So all you have to do is just to keep your eye on the laser dot. And that's about it. That's how you can make your measurements much accurately. Now, one issue that comes up every now and then is how you obviously enter locations and how you measure doorways. Now, we got that covered because we do have doors and openings that you can measure. Let's start with a simple door here. You can not only position this door, but you can also modify the opening direction. You can measure where this door is, let's say 2 meters from the corner. And one measurement across would allow me to measure not only the width, but also the not only the width, but also the height and the threshold height of this door. Because, for instance, if I place windows just like this one, then I can modify not only this measurement, but also the seal heights, which is very important if you're looking for 3D data. What you see at this point is that even though I only had a couple of measurements placed, everything exists as a 3D model. So everything what I did here has direct consequence in our 3D model. It's not compulsory, but you can also measure the wall heights and the thicknesses separately, just like that. So you can crank up the thickness all you want. Now, one thing what must be relevant when you're doing a site survey is how you add another room, because measuring one room is fine, but how you get from one room to the next, how you make a full building documentation, there are many ways to do that. One of the ways to tackle this problem in OrthoGraph is that you can just sketch your next location close to the first one, it attaches automatically, it creates a new location, and then you can measure backwards from your doorway, which is your only reference point, just like that. So now you start from the beginning, you measure the rooms, measure the locations. But this might not work all the time. Sometimes when you are doing measurements in irregular buildings where you don't know where the rooms align and where you don't know where they meet, you have to measure the components separately and you can merge them as you go. Let me show you how that works. Let me just undo this room and try to do the very same thing in a different location. So let's say that there's another room here. And let's say that I measure this room for its dimensions. And I know that there's a door here, which is the same door. So what I can do, I can just highlight this door here, copy it into the next location, measure it up. Let's say this is 0.2 meters from the corner. And then all I have to do, I can just snap the two locations together. And when I do, the two locations now are connected. So this way you can discover the tiny discrepancies and irregularities or maybe wall thickness changes in your drawing. Now at this stage you can decide to add more elements, doors and windows to your drawing. One thing what might be relevant is how to add objects and furniture pieces or maybe structural elements to your drawing. Now we have an ever-growing library of different elements to our application. One thing to keep an eye on is that we do have structural pieces such as columns, pillars and staircases. Now the great thing about these elements is that you can not only insert them into your drawing, I just inserted this huge staircase, but you can also obviously rotate it and re-measure it, resize it. So if I want to decrease it to a more manageable size, then I can. I just highlight it for 20 meters. Let me just undo the damage what I did. Also, we have a couple of columns and fireplaces what you can work with. Let's use this column here. Don't forget that you can copy them, so you can copy the elements as many times as you want. And these are going to be featured on your drawing as blocks. So if you are to export this drawing into CAD, which we are going to do at this session, you are going to see that these are going to be part of the drawing. Now, before you leave the scene, you can just highlight the rooms themselves, and that would give you access to room properties. Now, these properties are great because you can not only measure manage the ceiling heights and the wall heights, ceiling heights and wall heights, but you can also add properties in this field. And the great thing about these properties is that they are going to carry over to other rooms as well. So if you know the things what you want to record and measure on the scene, then this would be the place to do that. For instance, you want to measure the occupancy, or you want to measure the, or you want to remark the fire safety classification or anything like that. Then you can just hit the text field, hit next, name your property. Let's say it's going to be occupancy. And then you can decide if you want to have this property for just this one room or for all the rooms that you have on your drawing. And now you have an extra data field here in which you can take notes and you can add annotations. This data would be retrievable later. So when you go back to the office and you want to consult the data what you recorded, then this would be the place to do that. Also in this sheet, you can find the report on your drawing. This is a room by room estimation on the room's surface values, perimeters, and other important data what you would need. Also, you can capture this data into a PDF and Excel format, but you can also review that on the scene when you are doing the survey. Now, once you are done with this couple of rooms, you might want to know how you export this into something that you can actually use, because sketching on a tablet is fine, but as long as you can't use this data on anything else, it makes no sense. So that's why we have a couple of export formats, which one of them I'm going to demonstrate here. We have an image, which is just a screenshot of what I've done. A PDF, which is a room book of the floor plan plus estimations what I showed you, an Excel sheet which holds only the estimations, an IFC, which is a very important format because it is holding all the building related data what I showed you before. So it's not only going to get you the building's dimensions and geometry, but also the properties what I showed you before. And the last one is a DXF. Now, this one I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to send myself this DXF drawing, and we are going to review it, how it looks like. Let me just email this to myself so I can just open it up whenever it arrives to my inbox, so I can take a look and see how it looks like. Regarding the other export formats, it's something what the users are asking all the time, what kind of CAD softwares you can use to review the data what you captured. We are always trying to check with many CAD applications out there. We know that we support AutoCAD, Revit, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and other software as well. As long as they are able to import DXF or IFC, then it's manageable. If the applications can only import DWG, it usually works with that too. Now, I just have the drawing opened in my AutoCAD. Let me just go to my drawing and see how it looks like. So that's the thing what we just sketched. Okay, so here are the two rooms what we did, and also you can see the measurements what we have done. You can see the two columns what we placed. Now the great thing about this drawing is that it is stored on separate layers. So if I can open up the layer manager, then I can see that I can just manage layers. This is the way I would do in AutoCAD. Now, obviously you would use your own layers and preset settings, so you can just override this any way you want, but this is a very important tool that everything is stored on separate layers. Everything is existing as blocks, so if you want to work with this wall piece, you would have to first explode it, and then you can work with that. Apart from that, the great thing about it is that obviously your AutoCAD drawing is going to snap to these pieces. So as you can see, OrthoGraph is aimed at gathering the building data, the most important data that you want to work with. Everything which would require CAD skills is something that you should do in CAD. Now, these are the basic things what I wanted to show you regarding the application. I think the best course of action would be that if I give the word over to Paul, who is much more knowledgeable of AutoCAD and other things what he's doing, and he's going to tell us more about his journey from pen and paper to AutoCAD. So, Paul, please take over.
Thank you, Toth. Very good presentation. the presentation I'm going to do is called "Making the Switch from Paper and Pen to Tablet and LDM," which is is an abbreviation for laser distance measuring. In case you didn't get it, my name is Paul Jordan. I'm the owner of Grumpy's Designs, including me as the owner and the everything guy. And I'm an AutoCAD user, and I'm rapidly becoming a full-time OrthoGraph user. Let's talk a little bit about who I am. I've got 20 years in the Air Force as an engineering technician, worked with all different types of engineering and architectural firms. 3 years working for Autodesk Reseller as both sales and tech support, certified application engineer in AutoCAD, AutoCAD MEP, AutoCAD Architecture, and Revit. And I worked as a BIM coordinator on D1X, Fab 42, and Fab 24, which are all Intel processing facilities. Mm-hmm. What am I up to now? I started Grumpy Designs about 3 years ago, mainly taking on whatever drafting work people needed done. Started seeing a trend for the need to have house plans drawn up for permitting. Armed with a tape measure, a 4-color pen, an 8x10 graph paper tablet, I picked up work on a steady basis. The only advertising I've ever used is Craigslist.org under the services section. The old ways, I've got one of my drawings on the screen there that was taken right off a tablet, took a picture of it and scanned it, put it in here. Take this back to your office and try to make heads or tails from it. Then go back to the site and measure all the things you might have missed. Then go back to your office and make the corrections. Mm-hmm. That's the way we did it then, and I still find myself doing that on occasion on some really tricky buildings to do. Not enough hands. I quickly saw the advantage of a laser distance measuring device and how much faster it was than using a tape measure. That was before I knew about, OrthoGraph or anything else. I'd carry a clipboard with a top that flipped up so I could store things inside it, extra pens, templates, candy bars.
You gotta have your calories.
Yeah. So carrying the tape measure, the tablet, and holding my pen to draw and write with, that makes 3 hands. Mm-hmm. I knew there had to be a better way. My LDM has Bluetooth. Lots of things have Bluetooth. Why can't my LDM talk to my tablet? There's nobody out there that that I found in the initial stages that was even looking at that. They have all these big lasers that do the clouds and all that, but I'm not looking at doing cloud surveys of buildings. Mm-hmm. Problem on my tablet was a generation earlier than the LDM I was using. My LDM was a Leica D330i.
Yes, that's an older device. That's right.
Yeah, it's an older device. It's one of my backup devices now just for taking measurements. It took a lot of research to find out that the Bluetooth software on the Leica wouldn't talk to my tablet's my tablet's Bluetooth software. So solution number one, I went to the Leica dealer, checked all the LDMs, Leica distro E7100i, made the connection I was after. Currently I'm testing, I also actually got another tablet with a newer version of the Bluetooth so they could talk to each other.
Yes. Sorry to interject. One thing to point out here: the E7100i is called the D110 in Europe. I have no idea why they have different namings, but I just want to point it out.
Well, E7100i is American and yours is metric.
Yes, think so.
Currently, I'm testing the D2 LDM. It's about twice the size, but offers a few more nice features. LDM check, tablet check software. So off to the Google Play Store to find the program. I was using an Android, which was another, bridge to cross, we'll say. There's a lot more for the iPad at that time than there was for the Android. But I had an Android, and that's what I wanted to use. And believe it or not, I tell you, there are a lot of apps. This was a search I did on YouTube on the Play Store just for AutoCAD.
Okay, so when you type in AutoCAD in the Play Store, that's what comes up?
Yes.
That's a wide range.
Yes, I as I talked a little bit later, I found it, but right down there, the OrthoGraph did show up. It said, wait, what is that? It's a birds in a plane. I don't know if you recognize the Superman reference.
Yes, I do.
It's OrthoGraph. I spent countless hours downloading, installing, testing, and deleting pretty much most of the files on that page. Then when I saw what OrthoGraph could do, the skies opened up and it rained in California.
Paul, can you
I
just
can
tell
now,
me in a couple of words that what were you exactly looking for when you were downloading all these apps? So what were the basic functions that were that worth the time that you invested into downloading and testing them? So what was the main thing that you were looking for?
the main thing I was looking for was to be able to draw nothing else 2D lines of a building that I was in working. You know, if I was measuring with a tape measure and drawing it with my blue pen or green color pen, and then going to the next wall and drawing that, you know, why couldn't that be done in a computer? I mean, the LDM talks to the tablet. You know, that's that wonderful Bluetooth thing. But I mean, there was one that had well, several of them that use the camera on your tablet, and one of them you focus up to the top corner and drag it down to the bottom, and it drops. It looks like a little traffic cone down there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to the next corner and do the same thing. Next corner and do the same thing, and it produces something. And I don't trust the accuracy of the camera.
But
So
again,
that
it
was,
depends on what you need. I mean, if you need very accurate lines and drawings, and especially if you want to process this in CAD, then that sort of determines what you would need.
right. I now carry my LDM holding it in one hand and measuring much more accurate than I could with a tape measure. The accuracy in English is 1/32 of an inch in 330 feet. And in the other hand, I could hold my tablet. I do have a nice little pouch that will carry my E7100i LDM, a 50-foot tape. Never put all your eggs in one basket.
That's right. That's a good idea.
A couple of pens, a tablet, spare batteries, and some candy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sugar-free candy.
Good.
Is OrthoGraph hard to learn? I was talking to Tuff about this, and it was told to me one time when I was first learning Revit after being an AutoCAD user for 25 years. You have to take off your AutoCAD hat or whatever hat you're wearing and put on an OrthoGraph hat in order to learn how to use. Don't think to yourself, how would I draw this line in AutoCAD? Just open up your mind and learn the new technology, and you'll find it's much faster than trying to draw it on pen and paper.
How long did it take for you to master how the app works?
Not long at all. I've been going back and forth with your team and finding things like the update to the IFC so it could be read.
Yes.
It works in I use Revit 2010. It works fine in there. Gives me the model. Works fine in AutoCAD, but there's not a lot to going out and doing the survey with that LDM and the tablet.
Mm-hmm.
You scratch with your finger and it makes it square, and then once you start measuring it, the whole building will adjust and flex until by the time you get back to the first corner you started at, it's a drawing that's ready to go.
That's right.
And the nice thing there is you can look at it as a plan view, and your dimensions are accurate because you took it, but you can also look and say, whoops, I forgot that hole in the wall over there, or I forgot that window, and I'm looking right at it on my drawings, and I'm not looking for color coded. I use a different color for windows, different color for doors, so I can figure that out. So let's move along a little bit. I'd say it'll pay for itself on your first as-built project. The whole software, probably the tablet, depending on how big it is. I don't recommend going after a Intel processing facility on your first tablet. Just grab a couple of houses and do those.
Yes.
Literally, use your finger and draw the layout of the room you've seen or you're in something like this. I mean, the one on the left that was drawn with the finger. They make pens that work on tablets. You can use those too. But as you go, OrthoGraph will convert that to 90-degree lines. Now, those aren't the right lengths. And that's where we have to do the second process of it. But basically, you walk in the room and just kind of look like you're writing notes, but you're actually drawing with your finger.
And you are already drawing in CAD, so that's the main thing about it. You won't have to waste too much time turning this into a CAD drawing because it already is. I mean, not everybody
Right.
needs CAD drawings, but sometimes people are satisfied with the PDF output, but you, for instance, need a CAD drawing, so.
Right. My next step is you take your finger, select the measure command. It looks like a ruler, go figure. Pick one corner, then the next corner, put your LDM in the first corner, aim it at the second corner, push the measure button, either on your LDM or now it's on the tablet. It's bigger. It's a lot easier to hit on that tablet. And I don't know how many times I've hit that little button up there, and I find out I'm hitting the wrong button, even on my small thing with only 3 buttons on there. I'll hit the wrong button 2 out of 3 times. So the one on the tablet, that's my left hand, where my right hand can concentrate on holding the shot and holding the LDM still, and making sure I get the shot. Push the measure button, OrthoGraph will adjust the whole room to that dimension and and it puts a dimension on the wall. You don't have to tell it, I want to dimension this wall. It puts it on there. Continue doing that around a room and end up shooting back to the first corner. Before you know it, you have a room drawn to scale, haven't dropped your pen, haven't drawn your dimensions in the wrong color, and had time to eat a candy bar.
Gotta do that sometime.
Yeah, the thing to do is, years and years ago, I was a volunteer fireman, and when we were searching for victims in the house, we put our hand on the right wall, and we followed that hand all the way around, and eventually you get back to the same door you came in, and you check the whole room that you're in. So if you take that way of doing things, draw from one wall to the next, which is the way OrthoGraph is set up, it makes sure that you get everything done. And when you hit save and send it off to yourself, and you get back to the office, or you could send it back to the office and let them look at it, and they can make changes to it and start working on it before you even get home. If you have an office, you could send it to somebody. And
yes.
So let's see where we're at. Last but certainly not least, I might have forgot to mention, all your walls are drawn in 3D. Toth mentioned that in his presentation. He took a lot of the wind out of my sails on some of his parts, but it's all good to hear.
Didn't know that.
All your walls are drawn in 3D with the height you set in the settings. The settings, I'll show that in a minute. You can place windows, doors, furniture, stairs, etc. in the model as well. OrthoGraph exports image files, PDF files, XLSX files. I believe that's Excel.
That is actually the file format itself. The software that can open it is Excel, but that's XLSX. But that's basically an Excel spreadsheet. All the numbers would be crammed into one spreadsheet with different tabs, so you can navigate between the different tabs and see the numbers and estimations what you did.
The IFC is the Revit files, and I have been testing that, and it works. It works very well with that. And DXF is AutoCAD as well as many other CAD program formats.
That's right.
If they don't produce a drawing, a DWG is an AutoCAD trademark or an AutoCAD registered file type.
Yes.
And for some other company to come in here and say, I'm going to make a CAD program and save it as DWGs, you have to pay AutoCAD to do that.
That's right.
There's also a very good help section complete with tutorials written into the program, because believe me, you'll spend many a late night talking to the people in Hungary. But they are good. Drop an email, they'll get right back to you.
Sorry to interject again. One thing what I want to point out here is that, and it's very good that you mentioned the help section, and that's something what I want to show you in the app itself. We do have a help section in our website, and we also have a dedicated YouTube channel to store all the videos which would show you the features one by one. But also one thing what we just developed is an integrated knowledge base into our app. So what it does is that you can just open up, I'm just going to show you again, with this question mark, and you can research for things what you don't understand regarding the application. So this search bar is looking for keywords. So if you just type in things what you don't know, let's say you want to know more about measurement, then you can look for the things in our knowledge base. That's something what needs internet connection to work, but regardless if you do have internet connection, then you can just find the relevant articles in this application. Now, if you do not find what you're looking for, you can just tap on this envelope up here, and then you would send a bug report to us with the file what you're working on attached, and then we can take a look and see what's going on with your drawing. So that's one thing what we integrated into our app. Sorry for interrupting. We can continue now.
All right. Another neat thing, those of you that might be taking notes, recall I mentioned something about creating it in 3D. Toss also mentioned it and demonstrated it. Here's just a screenshot of the settings menu, and here's the 3D model next to it, what it would look like when you pull it on your screen. That's down in the bottom corner is the main toolbar that you have. You click on those, and different menus come up and allow you to do different things.
Great.
In closing, in all my research I did to find a program like this, I can honestly say there are only 1 or 2 companies that would reply to emails. Several companies only offered iPad versions of their product. Others use the cameras on your phone for shooting distances.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. OrthoGraph makes it for Android and iPad operating systems.
Yes, and also it runs on smartphones as well. I mean, if you are the masochistic type that you want to run the application on a smaller screen, you can do that. It's something that we do support, but for the sake of accuracy and faster work, we recommend a tablet. But we do work on Android and iOS tablets and smartphones as well.
Right. A team from OrthoGraph has been talking with me anytime I have a question. Since they're in Hungary, that means I'm up at midnight to talk to them. It's okay, and I'm insomniac, so that works out.
It's a good match then. It's that's a shame that we are a couple of hours ahead. We are at GMT +1, so that sometimes makes it difficult to find the time for instance, for this webinar. We decided to do a time which would be manageable for most of our customers, but that's something what we can resolve.
We're going to resolve that? Are you moving here or am I moving
Yeah, we
there?
are going to ask you to do the demos instead of us. Sorry.
Okay. They've been very open to ideas I suggested and have openly shared the direction they're going in the market. And before you asked, I already mentioned, yes, there is an iPad version as well.
Yes, one thing what the customers might not, or the attendees might not see from this is that you are part of the user base what we utilize for beta testing and also checking our CAD output. So that's something that we do with some of our customers who are willing to invest their time to test the application, and in return we listen to their feedback, and also we give them the latest development builds what we have. So that's something what we do with our beta testers. Just wanted
That's
to point
all
it
I've
out.
got.
So thanks for this part. I think that was the thing what you wanted to talk about, right?
Yes.
Now my questions to you, and let's just go back to this scene where we can see your image. One thing what I haven't heard about, and that might be interesting, is that let's talk about saving time with your service. One thing what comes up every now or then is to how would OrthoGraph make the site service faster? Can you tell us more about your experiences of how your working hours would modify with using the application?
Well, if I walked into a room and it's just take a standard living room, four walls, a door, a couple of windows. If I take my tablet in there with my pens, I sometimes do a sketch, sometimes I just start measuring and drawing lines. So just getting your measuring tape and stretch it out, finding a place to hold it at one end and dragging it to the other corner and taking that measurement. I could have done probably 3 or 4 measurements with OrthoGraph in that time. Just by sitting down, first when you walk in a room, do your finger sketch, and then pick your 2 corners that you're going to measure to, put your LDM up there, and hit the button, and it's measured, and it's changed the drawing. So I'm not sitting there trying to fuss with, the reason I use multicolors is so I can tell a window from a door from a wall.
It's like you're using layers on the scene. That's the genius.
Yeah, right. And that's the way I do things, and usually I end up sometimes I'll draw a window in green and then draw the next wall and it's green, and I'll write a dimension and it's green. It's like, oops, I forgot to change that. So, but it's just it's a lot faster. You can be in and out. You know, if people are using the room or something, you can go in and out, and just as long as it takes you 15 seconds to just draw the outline of the room, a minute to walk around it, and then you're out of the room. Pretty much no matter how big it is, because whatever time it takes you to walk from one corner to all the other corners, it's that much faster than, you know, stringing a tape measure and then you drop the tape measure and it clatters and they're all going, shh, we're doing their presentation here, and, you know.
Yes.
I try not to go into some places, but some places I've gone in where in the houses where the people are still sleeping, you know, and like, oh, okay.
But that's the point. You can be in and out in minutes. So that's the thing, because sometimes when we visit sites and we want to measure them, they are dusty and dirty and they even smell. So it's not something that you want to do for a long time.
Exactly right. You don't get the in my business, I don't get all the pristine houses to as-built, because the pristine houses are newer and they've already got plans drawn for them. I'm drawing houses that are 40, 50, up to 100 years old here in the Pacific Northwest. And some of those things, those boards have been up there for 100 years. The 2x4s have been up there. That leak has been in the floor for 80 years. So yeah, you run into some pretty bad situations. Some of them, they've torn the sheetrock off already, or it's got holes in it.
And what about afterwork in CAD? So you are using AutoCAD. So can you tell us a couple of words about how you are using the OrthoGraph files in CAD? Just what do you do with them?
I take them into AutoCAD and I dress them up, basically. I'll put my style of dimensions on there because it's just that much faster. It doesn't take long at all to do. Label my rooms. If I wanted to, and I didn't want to do it in the field, I could take all the different rooms that are separated and drag them into place in AutoCAD. But I'm working on, you know, remembering to do it in the field. Basically, I think I'm getting to the point, and I really don't want to do it because customers will ask you, why are you charging me X amount of dollars for measuring this, go sitting in your truck. Basically, I could do what we're doing now in my truck with my laptop and OrthoGraph. I could dump my OrthoGraph file to my laptop, make my changes. I've got a printer I'm going to put in the back of my truck. I can hit print and walk in there and hand them their PDF maybe an hour later, and I don't know if I want to do it that fast.
Well, you can still charge the same amount of money. I mean, you would be done faster, and that's exactly the idea here. Is that picking up a new tool like this one, it takes time and effort to learn it, but we like to look at the whole workflow. From the time when you walk into the room the first time and when you hand in your work to your client, and that's the whole workflow what we look at, and that's what we want to shorten and make it more accurate. And it all goes down to how you can give value to your customers, right?
Right.
Then we all agree.
Just be prepared, you know, before when you were drawing it by hand, sketching it and going back to your office and drawing it. It took a couple days, and you know you're charging them X amount, say $1,000. They expect that. They don't know what you're doing for those 2 days. You could be working on other projects, but
yes, that's
you know,
right.
you're working on theirs, and it's getting done. I'm not trying to say we're cheating them or anything. We're still getting the same technology, but we've advanced our technology using this software and the laptops and the printers, and however you want to put it, you know, in your vehicle or wherever you can go to a coffee shop and do it if you want to.
I believe that customers like to see that you're using the new technology. I mean, whenever the laser distance measurement devices came in, people started using them because it looked more, not only because it was more accurate, but also because it looked better than fumbling around with a tape measure. I mean, this is much more professional. That's something what people expect from professionals. That's what I think. But in any case, it all goes down to how you can handle your customers and how you can give value to them.
Right.
That's basically what I wanted to discuss. I mean, you covered whatever doubts and issues a newcomer might have, because you told us how you learned the app from scratch basically and how you are using it now. A couple of user questions what came in, actually this one, I'm going to look at it now. Somebody's asking if Vectorworks is supported. That's something what I covered before. We do have the IFC and DXF export formats that we support, which work together with most CAD applications out there. Obviously, we do our best to test them all the time. If you have any doubt if your CAD application works together with OrthoGraph, you can ask us to send you a demo file, and then you can import it and see how it works. So you can compare what you can expect from this application. That way, you can know for sure if this thing is supported for its full extent. That's what we had.
On that, Toth?
Yes?
On that, I'm using 2010 AutoCAD and Revit, and it works there. So it's working on some older, 8-year-old software.
Yes. Isn't that a bit risky to use older software? I'm just asking because obviously AutoCAD might hammer you to update, but if it's working, it's still working. It's not defunct yet, right?
Right. Now Autodesk has perpetual licenses where you have to update every year. You have to pay your subscription every year, and mine was done before that. And they don't care, they don't give me any support or anything, but I've been using it long enough. I don't need any support. Or I could look on the internet, just like looking up, OrthoGraph. You could look up support forums. You got a forum there, and
yes, and actually, thanks for bringing this up, because we are in the process of building up our knowledge base, what I showed you before. But that is going to turn into a user community where people could ask things from each other, and not only from us, but users might be able to answer each other's questions. And that's what the other CAD players are doing out there, to build up their own user base where users are very proactive in suggesting new features, testing the existing ones. Well, actually, there's a lot of things came in regarding questions. Let me go back to our previous section regarding user questions. There's something what I just want to read real quick. How it runs on a smartphone. That's something what I can demonstrate on my very smartphone. It just let me turn this thing on. Meanwhile, while it's loading, let me look at the other thing what's being added. Somebody has two main questions. If we have any issues with crashing or loss of data, on how easy it is to deal with multi-story buildings. Let me start from the end of this question. Multi-story buildings. This is something what comes up every now or then, and here's how we tackle this situation. We suggest customers to sketch things separately next to each other. You can sketch things on top of each other, you can pile up your buildings, but then it would be very hard to navigate through your drawing. So what I suggest is that to start with one drawing here and do the next one, do the next floor next to it. And then it would be very easy to brush this together in CAD. If you want to make sure that you can navigate between the different floors, you can even open up a new project for your new floor. So you can just name it, open up a new project, and that way you can make sure that you can find the relevant building parts. At the moment, we are not able to copy whole floors, but that's something what we are going to figure out eventually. Another question regarding this same attendee is that what happens with data loss? Now, everything is saved the way I see it now. So if whatever happens with the app, if I run out of battery life or I manage to crash it somehow, then the very last thing what I did would be retrievable here. So you don't have to manually save your work, because that's just time consuming and that's just something that you don't want to do. It always goes back to the last thing what you did. Now, somebody's asking if the customers will be able to add their own blocks to the program. At this point, it's not manageable yet. I've seen applications and I've seen solutions out there which allow the users to sketch their blocks and add them into the software itself for later use. That's something what we haven't done before. That's one issue with that, is that our blocks are three-dimensional elements, and it would be very difficult to make the software available to design your own elements. But I think with 2D building blocks, it would be possible. That's something what we have in our development pipeline, but I can't give you any concrete deadline for when that's going to be done. But that's something that we looked at. Thanks for the suggestion. These were the questions what we had time to answer. Now on to the last thing what I want to discuss. As if some of you are returning attendees of the webinar series, you know that at the end we always have something extra what we give to the customers. And I just realized that there's something what I forgot to do: show how the application works on a smartphone. here you go. So that's my personal phone, and it's running on this screen now. The reason why it might be more difficult to work on a smartphone is because obviously the screen is smaller, so the menu takes up a lot of space. But if worse comes to worse, you can still work on it. So the processing power of this phone is not going to prevent you from doing actual work. It's just personal preference, which one you prefer better, smaller screen or a bigger one. But the Bluetooth and other facilities are all supported, so it's all the same application. That's something what I haven't showed you before. Now, on to the last thing what I wanted to discuss. So we do have a promotion again, where after this session, all the attendees would be sent a link to a questionnaire. This questionnaire is about what kind of CAD software are you using, what kind of work you do, and what features you expect from our application, and how you like your existing features if you have tried them in the first place. From all the people who submit a valid questionnaire, we are going to enter them in a raffle where you can win an OrthoGraph I yearly subscription, so you can use the application free of charge for a year, and also a laser distance meter like the one I'm holding in my hand. Not this one because it's full of fingerprints, but you are going to get a new one from a box. Yes, another user question just came in. How many rooms can you sketch? There's no limitation on that, so you can sketch as many as you want. There's no limit. Obviously, if you want to manage your files accurately, it makes sense to open up a new project every time you walk into a new location. But you can just cram in as many rooms as you want. It just makes no sense to have too many in one. Just whenever you finished with one house, just open up a new project and you can have as many rooms as you need to have. And that actually wraps up our third edition of our webinar series. Paul, thank you very much for your input. I think it was very useful to hear from an actual user's point of view.
Anytime.
Thanks. And also keep the questions and feedbacks coming. We are going to have the next edition of the webinar series in May. You are going to have more data, more information on that. Until that, see you next time. Thanks for all of you for joining in. Bye-bye, Paul.
All right.